What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Best Family Homestead. And today we are going to be stringing up our tomatoes. I'm going to show you guys the easy way, an easy way to string up tomatoes where you don't have to cut string every single time they grow, and make them, as maintenance free as possible. And to give you guys an update on our Hugelkulture raised beds. The fact that I'm already having to tie tomatoes up right after not 5 or 6 days after putting them in the ground, it's kind of proving the point that it works pretty good. I'm also getting lucky that I haven't really seen anything eating on any of the plants, and I was about to say there's no weeds I've had to do yet, but it looks like right there's my first weed. We'll pull that here in a minute. So normally I'd have been having to weed the crap out of everything. And you can see we've got peppers coming. The only plant that's not doing real well is this one little okra plant here. And I think it is about dead. And the reason is it's right here in this low corner. I need to add some dirt. Like I said, the dirt's already starting to settle with the empty spaces, but it's okay. It's still everything's looking good, and we'll be adding dirt to it as we go. And with the tomatoes, you can see this one kind of got broken a little bit, and I can give you a copper colored guess as to how it might have gotten broke. He's over there tormenting some of the other farm animals. But you can see a lot of these are growing and starting to get big, where they're starting to bend over and starting to fall over. So we got to fix it before they actually start making fruit. So I'm going to go over here to what's left of the scrap pile and dig out some pieces of wood to use and show you guys how we're going to fix this. All right, so I've got a few pieces of wood here, and one of the nice things about how I made these beds are with them being nice thick wood on the sides. I'm not going to have to worry about stakes or anything like that. All I'm going to have to do is simply take a couple more pieces of scrap wood here that I've got, and if you don't have scrap wood laying around, inexpensive 2x from hardware store will be fine. We're going to be able to screw them into the sides of our bed here in order to make our supports to tie up our tomatoes. So I don't think I quite need them 12 foot tall or 8 foot tall. So go grab the saw, and we're going to come back over here and get started. Wow, look who showed up. The tomato breaker. Copper pot. Huh? What are you doing, Copper? What are you doing? Are you being crazy? He's a nut. All right. So in the normal errand fashion of building things, especially because we're still using, unsquared scrap wood, I see no reason to measure anything beforehand. We're going to go as we get there. So I'm going to start over here on this low side and go ahead and get our bracing and stuff put up, and then from there I'll show you how we're going to go about all this. you guys why I get a different piece of wood, what I'm forced to deal with on a daily basis. A day in the life of owning a copper. That's not yours. Okay, so, straight enough. So there's a couple ways to do this. I have lots and lots of wood. So I'm gonna use wood because what we're gonna do is just make it easier for tying my twine. But you can use stakes, or you can use wire for the cross pieces we're about to put up. We got our first cross brace up here. Like I said, you can definitely use wire for this, you know, and wrap wire instead of the wood. But I'm using wood. I'm gonna show you guys exactly why I'm choosing to use my wood. So a couple things on tying up tomatoes. First, you don't want to use, you can use wire for a cross brace, but you don't want to use wire for actually wrapping your tomato plants. The reason for that is the wire, especially thin wire, because it's going to cut into your tomatoes and damage your tomato plants as they grow. That's definitely not what you want to do at all. Now the method I do, you know, some people will continue adding string as tomato plants grow. Some people choose to use tomato baskets, which to me are such a pain in the butt. I toyed with the idea of using cattle panels, which those do work great, but there was two reasons I didn't want to use cattle panels on these raised beds. One is because since I have my tomatoes split into rows, if I put a cattle panel down the middle, it could be hard to get to one side. You know, it really would it be that hard? No. But really the biggest reason, cattle panels are dang expensive and scrap wood is free. Free is always good. So the first thing I'm going to do here, and we'll start with this little guy. We'll start with this little guy right here. So the only place that I'm really going to actually tie, set our excess pepper plant. I should have put that pepper plant in the garden, but I thought it looked good in the pot. Right, so the only place I'm actually going to tie to my tomato is right here at the base. And all it's going to be is just a very, I'm not putting any pressure on this plant, and I'm making sure I'm leaving this, you know, big enough for it to grow as it needs to. So you can see I didn't tie that super duper tight. All right. And now I'm going to take my, I'm using jute twine. I use baling string a whole lot, but I didn't have any. This I actually had sitting on a shelf. I saw it, so I didn't have to buy anything. Again, I like free. Work with what you've got. And you saw all I did was figure out, okay, I've got lots of excess here. That's going to go over my support. Now from this point on, there's not going to be any tying on my tomato. Might have cut that one a little bit too long. So watch here. Here's all I'm going to do. So this tomato plant needs to go up. So I'm going to go here. And all I've got to do is take and just wrap my twine like so. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap right around this part right here. Around a couple times, there we go. And now I'm going to tie my piece of twine off using a slip. I'm going to tie my piece of twine off using a slip clove hitch, which I'll show you guys how to do in just a moment. And voila. All right, now you see my tomatoes supported nice and tight. All right, I had to take another copper time out there, but you can see I can pull hard on this right here, and it's going to support as much weight. Like I'm pulling really hard and it's not coming loose. Well, as this tomato plant starts to grow up and branch out, all I have to do to readjust and retie is pull on my excess line. Bam. And now I've got excess. So my tomato plant has grown. I wrap my twine around it one more time, and I go back up and tighten up retie my slip clove hitch. And the slip clove would work better if I did have a round rod up there, but you can see it still is working just fine. And now my tomato plant is nice and tight again. And I've got plenty of excess as it grows. And I'll trim it probably, you know, up here somewhere so it's not hanging down and doesn't risk the chance of a copper colored puppy running by and being like, oh, a fun toy, a string. So now we're going to go ahead and tie up most of these tomatoes. and then I'm going to show you guys how to tie that slip clove hitch. Really easy. And you know, the nice thing about having the wooden raised beds, if I decide to switch up and put flowers in here or some other vegetable that I don't need this, I can take it down so it's prettier, but honestly it's not really ugly, and it does the job. So let's tie some tomatoes up. Alright guys, so I'm going to show you guys how to tie this this slip clove hitch. It's a version of a clove hitch. It's nothing but a friction knot, so that the more weight you put on the running end of the line, the tighter it locks down. So what I'm going to do is take my string, my tomato is down this way, and I'm going to drape it over. All right, this is my working end, this is my free running end. Now I'm going to take my free running end, it goes on the right side, and I'm going to cross it. It's going to cross on top, and then I'm going to pull it on the left side. Now at this point, all I'm going to do is reach behind here, pull, make a loop on that top part of that line, and grab it and make a half bow, like so it's half of a shoelace. Now you can see I'm pulling as hard as I can right here, and as I pull, this line is putting pressure on the bottom line. So this line goes over top and it puts pressure, so it cannot come loose. This knot is very secure. This is a slip clove hitch. The reason this is a slip clove hitch is because even though I'm pulling extremely hard right now, all I've got to do is take this free running end, boop, and I'm loose. A regular clove hitch is the same thing, but instead of making the bow on top, I pull the entire free running end out. Now that's a lot more secure, and it's also a lot more, if there's weight here, it's a lot more of a pain in the butt to get loose. So that's a good secure knot if you're going to maintain a lot of weight. But unless you can take the weight off to work this loose, and you can see that tightens up really tight, you don't want to use it. I am a huge fan of a slip clove hitch and use it all the time because, like I said, as long as you have good weight on that working into that line, it's going to stay locked down and keep everything nice and secure. So now we go grab copper and we're going to get back to tying up tomatoes. Copper. so there you have it. Just the way I like it. Easy, effective, cheap. And I got rained out a little bit earlier today, and it's, you know, nice working in the garden in the evening. I did see some suckers. I was going to do a little bit on suckering these things, but I think we'll wait till maybe tomorrow, because you can tell I'm dripping sweat, and it is 8:30. Man, it's just humid down here in Georgia. But these tomatoes are looking great, and even the one that's kind of a little bit and broken, you can see it's being held up. I'm pulling on this, you know, they're not going to put enough weight on this jute to break it, and all I have to do is untie it, make another wrap, and retie it as they grow. You know, if it gets really big and bushy and gets multiple stems coming out, which it probably won't, because I'll keep them suckered and show you guys how to do that. But if it does, I'm gonna have to tie one, maybe two pieces of jute, you know, here and there. But to me, this is the simplest way to string your tomatoes up. Much easier than running multiple pieces of string and wire and all that kind of stuff. And even with cattle panels, you know, you've got to make sure and weave them before they get too big, or you're going to break them trying to put them, you know, back where they need to go. This way, even if they get a little bit too big, you know, and I don't keep up with keeping all the strings tight, all I got, you know, I've got plenty. I can just wrap it as it goes and pull it right back up where it needs to be. So, hey, it works. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for watching. Make sure and like, subscribe, and share if you want to see what happens towards the end of the season. A little bit late, but I have a feeling I'm going to have a lot of peppers and tomatoes very shortly. Thanks for watching.